Earth Illuminated Empyrean really started as an attraction, but really I think it started in the hearts of Heidi and I. Something in our soul was always stirring to tell the stories of the Earth and kind of give an explanation back to like remember nature, remember who we are, remember us as the dominion holders of this planet. And so many people forget that, that the planet just kind of takes over and society takes over, culture takes over, and we forget who we are as Christians. And I think that's important. We started finding that it was a deeper story. I think I wrote maybe the first 15 minutes of it, and Gabe calls me and is like, "Hey, man," and we chatted for a few minutes about what it was that we were up to and what we were doing. And you were like, "Dude, I'd look at that story. That'd be great." So I was like, "Okay." So I just sent you kind of the previs of what we were writing, and I think it kind of sparked something in you as well.
But what struck me right away is it speaks to now. And I think that one of the main points of the story is like, are we living correctly? Is this
Yeah,
even right? We're like, these lives are just prescribed to us. Is there a better way? Is this like what we're supposed to be doing? When I read that theme in this science fiction thing, it hooked me right there, and I started to get way bigger ideas than what I had read. But I thought the germ of the idea was fantastic.
and I think when you took the original story germ, the concept that was originally there, and you were like, "Hey, what if we change the name?" I was like, "Whoa, this is interesting." But I think the name that you chose was proper because it is this Empyrean.
It was Earth Illuminated, and then you had this as an attraction for people to walk through in Orlando, Florida, near Disney World and all that. And I love the concept. So we're thinking more action, a little more serious and stuff like that. And I thought Earth Illuminated. Whenever I hear that word Earth, it kind of brings me to something more friendly. And I thought it didn't say action to me by itself. So I was thinking, well, we're looking for a better way, a better life. These people live on Solus and they're on this planet and they're living alive. And I was looking up words that were other words for higher levels. And there was a word Empyrean, and it
Yeah.
meant the highest level where like God resides and stuff like that. So I thought, wow, that word sounds majestic. It sounds cool. It sounds powerful. It sounds epic. And that's, I think when you're thinking of science fiction and action fans, that's what they want. They want cool. They want epic.
This story lends itself. I don't want to give away anything, but like the story lends itself to the highest place. And that was really the core essence of that seed.
Yeah, it's again, I thought this was a small job. I told my buddy that draws a lot of stuff with me, yeah, we'll be done in a month or two. We'll get back on this other thing we had planned. And again, it's been over a year working on this, 120 pages. So I think the original draft you sent me was 33 pages or something. And that was like 33 pages of plot. I don't know how many
Right.
comic book pages it would have been, but it wasn't long. I felt like, let's make it epic. Let's make a whole world here. Let's make an empire. Let's make a whole
Yeah. Yeah.
saga. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because you have the basic idea about, is this the right world? Is there a better way? Is there another world? Something like that. And I thought that was a great thing because that's what I see going on in the world today, where people have, scales over their eyes and they're really misled. They're taking all of this stuff in, whether all this pleasure and indulgence and selfishness. And we're taught that that's right nowadays.
I think as Christians, as followers of Christ, we always are aspiring to one day go to heaven, right? And I think so many
Sure.
people even think about that, whether they're Christian faith believers or not. They're always like, one of these days I'm going to go to heaven, or they think about heaven. And I heard a thing that's really interesting the other day was like, for people who believe, this earth is the most hell we'll ever experience. But for
Sure.
people who don't believe, this is the most heaven we'll ever experience.
To me, I always liken it to artificial ingredients. I would say that like
Yeah.
modern, postmodern, progressive ideology is to your soul the way Cheetos are to your health. You eat Cheetos, feels great, tastes great, zero nutrition, and in fact, a detriment to your health, and you're
Yeah.
hungry 5 minutes later. So when you
Yeah.
do all this Tinder dating and smoking weed and watching too much TV, video games, and all pleasure, 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 feels great in the moment, and then where are you 5 minutes later? And then the
Yeah.
prognosis for your life going forward is down. The overall
Empty.
trend is getting worse. So again,
Right.
exploring that in this story, in this comic, in this graphic novel, are we being lied to? Is this really the real world? Is this really how we should live? I thought it was just such a great idea, and I loved expanding on it.